Alice in Wonderland is one of the most famous children's tales ever, written in 1865, and since then has spawned countless remakes, retellings, games, and movies. But perhaps the most cult famous and disturbing iteration of this franchise comes from American McGee, with his broody and dark take on the classic. Despite being sufficiently insane, as you will soon see, what if Alice were even more insane? What if she only wanted to use the base knife to defend herself with? Can you beat Alice Madness Returns with only a knife? The game starts off with the symbolism of keys, doors of memories long since locked away. We get hints of Alice's past as her therapist helps her blend her delusions into reality. We get this delightfully fucked up gem.
Something wrong?
And then Alice wakes up and is told to go retrieve some pills for another session tomorrow. Absolutely not. I spotted this weird looking kid before getting the hell out of there quick, fast, and in a hurry, stumbling into the real world of the 19th century England. Chasing this white cat, it eventually led me to another delusion, where Alice gets boxed in by her worst nightmares before being surprised by a lady with the biggest nose I've ever seen. But don't get too excited, Nurse Witless is also a piece of shit, revealing she never cared for Alice, but the money the doctor provided. They say you are who you surround yourself with, so maybe we're the baddies? Seems like everyone in Alice's life seems to have it out for her. Nurse Witless asks to feed some pigeons, and when I do, Alice falls into another delusion, this time far into Wonderland, floating down from the sky like the goddess she thinks she is. I get familiar with the controls, hop, skip, and jump around, and pick up my star weapon, the Vorpal Blade. The fuck does Vorpal mean? I then gave it its maiden run as I killed these goop enemies. In 3 easy kills, I was free to move on to the next area, collecting worthless stuff along the way. I floated and failed. I then talked to the Duchess, who told me about pig snouts she wanted to collect. And this is where the knife-only challenge failed. The game gives you weapons that you have to use in some way, so not even 19 minutes into this game and I failed the challenge. However, I wasn't going to let that stop me. I may be forced to use weapons, but they can't stop me from trying to just use the knife. I went to work on the butterfly nest, shot the nose reluctantly, and moved on, arriving at a warped train station. After throwing down with some enemies, I headed across a tram, talked to the cat, and crashed into a wall like it was 9/11. Waking up, I got my first dress change, the steampunk dress. More slicing, more dicing, some expert parkouring, and I met the iPods for the first time. I got my face stomped, learned how to deal with them, and stomped his shit. I then killed 2 more and headed through Lost and Found, doing an elevator puzzle, and then I found the rabbit bomb, another item the game forced me to use. I blew open a door, another door, and stumbled to the first fire door, where Alice says the most pointless thing ever.
Our lovely library was a fire trap.
I then entered Hysteria, cleaned house, and was forced to use the pepper grinder. I then met the Hatter, and he gave me the task to put them back together, so off I went to Destruction Lane. I then took the cart down to Smelling and Regurgitating, an awful name. I had to listen to this the entire time, too.
Payday for good workers has been postponed indefinitely.
I jumped through lava, went Hysteria again, and fought more enemies before arriving at the rodent's lair. Some expert lava parkour ensued. I walked on air and scared away the rat when he realized I was closing in. With the arms down, it was time for the legs. I messed up the parkour, and then it was down to cranking up and pressing down. Another awful name. I narrowly avoided getting high-fived, tore through some more enemies like a tornado, jumped across some cages, and met the rabbit, who, like the rat, swore I wouldn't get to him. They never learn, do they? I avoided getting crushed and threw down with a giant ruin. Flipping the switch, the rabbit ran off, and the legs jumped into the chute to be reunited with the Hatter. Alice followed suit because she is also trash. The Hatter was reassembled, creepily picked Alice up, and then it was off to find the origin of this train that's been terrorizing Wonderland. 1, 2, 3, puzzle solving, and we confronted the rabbit and the rat, who teamed up in a giant mech. They defeated themselves, and Alice watched the Hatter die. Again. She then woke up, having been saved by two fishermen who were implying taking advantage of her unconscious body. She then pushed them off and headed to the Mangled Mermaid to see her old nanny. Lady Bird delivers this scathing zinger.
Maybe you noticed I'm not pissing me drawers at the prospect.
And then invites Alice to come see her. Alice goes up, gets cold cocked by a man with bad intentions, and falls back into Wonderland. Landing like a meteor, it was now time to explore the ocean biome. Slice, dice, stab, slash. I observed this fucked up owl and picked up the hobby horse, yet another weapon the game would force me to use. I answered a question, got it right, and met the sea captain. We played Sea Invaders, the ship crashed, and now I was underwater with the second dress change in the game. I had a Wonderland to save though, so forward I went, leaving the captain to deal with the aftermath. I came across the second fire door, and Alice theorizes she left the fire on. I got bullied by this annoying ass sailor, ran around the giant table while Rabbit and Hatter watched me, and finally arrived at Drury Lane Theater, where I talked to the most nonsensical dude I've ever met.
To a personage of your distinguished repudiation, I blush at the notionality.
And was off to assemble his show. I had to find the writer, the musicians, and the performers, so more fetch work for me. I got my ass beat by a crab and died. I then platformed my way up and entered the giant waiting maw of this anglerfish. I talked to the octopus, who then made my life hell by wanting to play hide and seek. After finding him all 3 times, he said he'd help, so I was off to go help the musician. What a fucking waste of time that was! Bro sounded like this.
And in danger my vocal cords.
1, 2, 3, and then I played Guitar Hero for a second. Then I was off to find the oyster starlets. I ate some crabs for breakfast, and the first starlet woke up, and boy was I in for a rude awakening when I saw her. I became one with the jellyfish, collected the second, did a puzzle, and collected the third. The weird guy from earlier betrayed me and destroyed the bridge, claiming I had to put the sailors to rest. Why do we always have to do every fucking thing in these games? So like a dog going to the vet, I reluctantly went to go deal with them. I threw hands with the first sailor and he told me to rescue his crew. So that's 1, 2, 3. Are you noticing a trend yet? And then I was able to leave and go see the show.
That's quite enough of that, I think.
Who the fuck would have thought the walrus would eat the oysters? As Wonderland burned down around Alice, she woke up, Skyrim style, in the back of a cart. We get a rather creepy ass shot of Alice with her eyes open like the dead, and then it was off to get her stuffed rabbit from her old lawyer. Running around, I eventually found my way and rampaged my way inside Radcliffe's home. After confronting him, Radcliffe agrees that the fire couldn't have been accidental. When Alice comes to, it would appear she's starting to lose her mind as the real world becomes Wonderland and vice versa. Making my way out of the house, I walk right into the inner machinations of Alice's dying mind, and the infernal train graces the sky with its presence. The cat tells us Alice is too chicken to save herself. I get high, I float, I fight, get surrounded by weed smoke, and end up in the mysterious East with the third dress change of this game. I pulled a chain, I became Alice Skywalker, laid waste to some samurai wasps, and talked to this origami wasp. He said I needed to ascend the mountain if I wanted to talk to the caterpillar to get his wisdom. I then entered the first painting, balked at these awful controls, and did that 2 more times. Finally talked to Caterpillar, who was now I guess a butterfly or some shit, who says this delightful nugget of wisdom.
Time changes us all.
Alice then woke up, having been thrown in jail for causing a disruption on the streets. The officers take pity on her and were let out. Walking out into the streets, Alice is faced with yet another delusion, and we walk through the upside down before being threatened with tentacle porn and falling back into Wonderland, floating down into Cardbridge, my favorite level. I walked amongst the playing cards, failed 4 times before finally figuring out where to go, and messed up the puzzle so bad I had to restart. After literally 8 minutes, I finally got it right and progressed. I walked on more cards, which was admittedly badass, and slid my way to victory, inevitably messing up on the landing. I stood around for 30 seconds for some reason, and finally progressed, getting the 4th dress of this game, the Queensland dress, and entering the ruins of the castle Alice destroyed in the first game. The cat chastises Alice about her murder spree, and I was off towards the castle, jumping and jiving over falling dilapidation. I sliced and diced through sentient cards, and met Chesbraham Lincoln, who let me kill him so I could enter the castle. I admired the creepy decorum, yanked the chain, some more platforming, and fought card enemies. The Pyramid Head ripoff stepped through. Alice realized he was too tough for her, and I escaped. Except I didn't, so I had to run and actually escape. More chain yanking, more platforming, and more filleting before the warden chased me again. As I fought, he lifted the gate and came inside. I watched him wipe the board and escaped again, leaving him in the dust. I expertly puzzle solved and then got chased by the warden again. Yo, when is this dude gonna fuck off already? I left bro behind a third time and squared off against these squares with legs. The warden came back again, and after killing his minions, he sent me to the Shadow Realm to think about what I've done. His little trap was no match for me as I expertly made my way through it, eventually baiting him to drag me out. He then chased me for the fourth time. I fought Baby Goop and found the fourth fire door. Alice begins to realize that her sister wouldn't have locked her room door, and thinks someone locked her door and lit the house on fire to cover their tracks. I then came to the garden maze and was chased again by this guy. As he cornered Alice, she ate a cake slice and grew to the size of a building. Alice then stomped the ever-loving fuck out of this guy. Finally, I then rampaged my way through the Queen's Palace, finally fulfilling my dream of being a 50-foot tall woman. I stomped the 3 hearts and crushed the central one, crumbling the kingdom. I then drank some water and it was back to normal size. I miss it already. I went down a tunnel of gore and spoke to Lizzie, Alice's sister as a queen. She dropped this truth bomb.
The train is trying to destroy all evidence of your past, and especially the fire. Now, who would want that?
Alice got grabbed by tentacles and ate into some sort of understanding. Alice then woke up in an insane asylum, and if you're lost, trust me, so was I, and I was playing the damn game. I walked down the hallways, saw the fattest guy ever, like damn, look at this guy. I don't mean the fat shame. I do, but my guy, what happened? Alice slays even when lobotomized. She's visited by the ghost of the people who hold the most influence in her life, telling her she needs to leave the asylum and heal her broken mind. So escape we did, right into another delusion. Or is this reality? Oh, that answers my question. This big-headed, dismembered kid dies in front of Alice, and we approach the burning inferno of her home. Now we're in the dollhouse with the 5th and final dress change of this game. Which one was your favorite? You guys know the drill. I platform, I fight giant American Girl doll rejects, and enter through the crotch of the child. I dealt with more enemies, more puzzle solving. I listened to this banging soundtrack, and I listened to it again. I fell to my death, got 4 enemy 1 Alice, narrowly avoided certain doom, and solved the puzzle, revealing my expression when I realized I was still playing this game. I then met and killed the funniest named enemies, and continued onward. That train? Yeah, remember that? It wasn't going to stop itself. I found the Jack-in-the-Box and opened it, wondering what kind of burger I'd get from it, but it turned me into a baby head instead. I rolled my way to victory like a Chef Boyardee soup can, eventually making my way to another section. Whee! I watched the loser get crushed, and watched it happen again. I kept fucking up the timing on this infuriating puzzle. Honestly, fuck this. Finally opened the door, and you guys know the drill. Float, walk, solve, stab, whee! I go through some cheeks, I fight a colossal ruin, and flip a lever. I mastered the guitar, but the fans hated that, so they showed me what they thought. Twice. I then confronted the true scourge of Wonderland. Look familiar? Yep, it's the Doctor. He's been manipulating Alice's mind this entire time, revealing that it was he who started the fire. Alice challenged his authority and is subsequently turned into a doll. Alice then wakes up in the true reality, ready to end this madness for good. Alice confronts the Doctor at the train station.
You oozing sore of depravity!
Hatter says the famous line,
Now we're all mad here.
The Doctor revels in the fact that Alice is insane, and
I could have made you into a tasty bit. Clients out the door waiting for a piece from a raving, delusional beauty with no memory of the past or no sense of the future. Your sister was a tease, pretended to despise me. She got what she wanted in the end.
So yeah, let's kill this piece of shit. After watching his little flourish, I make quick work of both his hands. Got grabbed twice, and since he kept his tongue out of slashing range the entire time, I had to shoot it. But eventually the brute fell, and the true Alice woke up. The doctor thinks he's untouchable, but Alice morphs into Wonderland before his very eyes, and as Alice pushed this bastard into the way of the oncoming train, she uttered these words.
I hate my doctor. So tonight I'm sane. Bye, doctor.
I'm just kidding, that was me. And as Alice left the train station and walked into the sunset of Wonderland blended into reality seamlessly, I had some time to reflect on the choices I've made and the deities I was beholden to. And I did not beat Alice Madness Returns with only a knife.